Well, Crystal, I am beyond excited to have you here because, first of all, it's our first episode of our second season back. And second of all, I just think you are a very interesting person. You were fascinating at Jolt. You have a fascinating history, and I know that everybody's going to really enjoy learning from you today. So thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Robert. I'm excited to be here.
Good. I'm so glad, and I'm excited. So that means this is going to be a good episode. Now, before we even get into all the incredible things that I know you're going to teach us, I have to ask you about something in your title. I've been around business for a while, and you are the first futurist that I have met. Please tell us, what is a futurist? And also, you're a certified futurist. There is a futurist organization. This is all new to me, so please enlighten us.
Yeah, so a certified futurist. So let me say what a futurist is not, because oftentimes people are like, "Oh, predict what's coming up next." I'm not a psychic. That's not the same thing. Okay, I don't have a crystal ball. My name is Crystal, and I own balls I play with, volleyball and stuff, but I don't have a crystal ball. A futurist job is simply to look at what an organization or individual, usually organization, is expecting to happen. Like they're asking a specific question. What is the future of this? What's likely to happen here? And a futurist job is then to look at the landscape, do something called horizon searching, and help the team put together alternative futures, plausible alternative futures, so that then they can prepare for those as well. So it's how you think about people saying you should have, plan A, B, and C or D. It's very similar. And I think Shell Company was probably the first to actually have a actual futurist in-house, maybe, I don't know if it's the 70s or the 80s. But now it's actually quite popular for larger organizations to employ futurists to help them prepare beyond their blockages. Certified just means I've taken courses. So there's people that, because of the methodologies they use, they say they're futurists, and that's fine. We can always do that. Like right now, Robert, you want to be a futurist? Ding, you're futurist, right? You just use that methodology in what you do. But I've actually taken courses at universities and things like that. So I actually have certifications.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, and you also have credentials. I mean, it's amazing the companies you've worked with. I know Google, Microsoft, GE, even internationally, United States, Africa, Europe, right? So how long have you been doing this?
A little bit over a decade, I've been doing the speaking portion, but I've owned my own business and I've been in the digital marketing space since about 2006, because I knew that social media was so funny. It's still kind of in its infancy. And I remember working in corporate America, and I was in sales and marketing. And I remember telling my boss, and this is my early 20s, hey, this social media thing, I have a feeling it's going to be big one day. Now, mind you, this is like in MySpace days. And I said, I said, imagine if companies got on here and they started having conversations with their clients. And of course, now, Robert, we're like, duh. But at the time, it hadn't happened yet. And my boss, who was a little bit more senior than me, looked at me and he said, look, kid, you're cute and you make us a bleep load of money, which I did. He said, stick to what you know. I said, oh.
That's terrible.
Now, mind you, I'm a millennial, but I'm an old millennial, Robert. So I did a very millennial thing. I quit my job because everything in me was like, this is going to be big, start your own company. And so I was at the forefront of the millennial movement to quit jobs. And so that's how I got into the digital marketing space. That's how I started working with small businesses first, because they're more agile. And then I got contracts with Google and Microsoft and British Airways. So I actually started, those are 3 clients I did through the consulting in, as they were trying to figure out how to use social media more strategically.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, good for you having the foresight. Obviously, you were right. And it's interesting, though, something you said just a moment ago. You said we're very much still in the early stages, I believe is how you put it, or it's still in its infancy. Um, and that's something I hear a lot of people in our industry. We serve financial advisors, and I hear them say, "Oh, it's too late now. I didn't get on Twitter early enough. I didn't build a following. I get out there. There's too much noise. I can never break through." But you're shaking your head, so that's not the way to think about it.
It's
It-
always
it-
shifting. It may not be called social media 5 or even 10 years from now. It might be called something else. It may not be called Facebook. But the way that we're connecting outside of in-person interactions, that's never going away now. The level of global connectivity we have. Robert, again, I mentioned I'm a millennial, but I really am an old millennial. If I was born just a few months earlier, I'd be a Gen X, right?
Oh, we're the same. I was born in 81, so we're very similar. Yeah.
We're right there. So I remember when we were younger, if you were really cool and global, you had a pen pal. So I had a pen pal named Maria in Spain. Meanwhile, my nephew plays video games with people around the world since he was in elementary school. Like he literally has teammates that are joining from UAE and parts of Africa and Europe at the same time. So this level of connectivity we have through social media, through gaming, it's all part of the same ecosystem. It's not going away. And so we don't have to be at the very forefront of something to take advantage of it. And actually, it's almost better not to be one of the first users, because then there's a lot of error, and let other people work out the kinks and get all the bumps on their heads from falling down. After they've fallen down enough, then you step in their footsteps, step over their bodies the nicest way possible, and you be more strategic, right? So it's never too late.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective. And one of the things that you do, Crystal, which I'd like to talk more about, is you actually help businesses figure out how to use social media strategically to empower them with sales, marketing, and to be more efficient. So give me some examples of how you help businesses do this, and keeping in mind that we're also dealing with small businesses. You have a lot of big clients, but what if you're just like one or two people and you're trying to run your business, and now you've got to be on social media too, and that's not going to make me more efficient. That's just going to take more time. But I know that's not how you see it, and there's more to it.
No, no. And I mean, the advice I give my larger companies obviously is a little bit different than my mom and pop, my mid-sized to small. I don't really like using the term small business, but people know what I mean. Because I mean, the significance is there, because I think it's a little bit over 50%, maybe it's 51% of Americans are employed by small businesses. So they have a big impact. They're important. But, I have, for instance, I have programs around the option of efficiency. Like I have one called Operation Outsource that I'll come and I do a keynote, or I do as a breakout workshop where I show small business owners about how to better systematize their businesses. And so when you think about efficiency, oftentimes there are repetitive tasks that happen in our companies. And the thing is that when you're dealing with small businesses, oftentimes they're run by type A's, right? And so, and I'm a reformed type A, right? Where you've been brought up to believe you want something done right, you do it yourself, instead of figuring out systems that can do some of the more repetitive tasks, instead of figuring out how to outsource to other individuals and give them very specific areas to own. And then when it comes to setting up those systems, then I help organizations figure out what technology can facilitate their needs, because there's different technologies. I'm a pragmatist, Robert. So I believe that if you're going to use a piece of technology, it shouldn't just be because it's shiny and new. You need to have some ROI from that, right? So you need to be able to see how it's making more money, or it's shifting your conversion rate, or it's your employees are happier because maybe they're not working 60 hours a week now. Maybe they have regular weeks, that are 40 hours or less. So that's kind of how I work with smaller companies from the efficient. Now, when it comes to the sales angle and the marketing angle, sales relationships, that's it. And so I'm showing them how to better use technology, which does include social media for many organizations, paired with things like their customer relationship management systems to build better relationships. And all it is being observant. Robert, do you know anybody that's like extremely thoughtful? Like, do you have anyone in your life that's just super thoughtful?
Oh yeah, several at my company. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I teach people how to be super thoughtful. And there's technology that can help you be thoughtful when you're not naturally that person. And even if you are naturally that person, there's so many hours in the day. You can't keep track of every single person's family events and this or that, every single client. There's technology that will help you with that. We're not outsourcing the relationships, but we're setting up reminders and we're creating systems for pulling in the information that we can then use to make clients feel extra special.
Okay, this is really fascinating, because what you're describing to me sounds like a bit of a juxtaposition, because you've got technology, which is not personal, and then you've got relationships which are, and very human element. But you're saying the two can work together. It's like you're saying I can use technology to be more human, to build stronger relationships. So help me understand. Like, give me some practical examples. How do we do that?
So before I get into practical, let me, because there's some people that are going to have a little bit of an issue with that juxtaposition, as you said. Imagine a superhero. A superhero isn't any less who they are. They're using sometimes technology like Iron Man to get more done, right? So it's to be a better version of who they already are. Batman, right?
I like that. Yeah.
So everybody in here can be Batwoman, Batman, you know, Iron Man minus his issues, hopefully, right? We don't want to take that on. But my point is that it's just to accentuate what you already have. So for instance, if you're someone who's really good at remembering people's birthdays or sending clients children cards, maybe, right? Just say, they're about to turn 16, 18, and it's appropriate. You've met them in an environment. And you just want to say, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. Here's a little $5 gift card, or here's $5 to invest in, however you want to make the message, right? Well, when you're using social media, and if you're connected to your clients there, especially with financial services, it gets a little tricky because sometimes people don't know what they can and can't post, right? Because we have all of these laws and entities that have kind of told us to be very careful. We have to be careful what we say. And so oftentimes with financial services, I say you actually don't have to create too many posts at all. Like you can, there's strategies for that, but spy on your clients. And you're just reading what they're putting there. And it doesn't even have to be you. You can actually, if all of your reason for being on, let's say, Facebook is to connect with clients, right? And maybe you post a little bit of things about you're doing this, or little tip, but something's not going to get you in any trouble. You can have someone in your office where their job is once a week to comb through your clients and just add any little things, any pieces of information into your customer relationship management system. They can set a timer. Okay, this is your kid's birthday this year. They just announced it. Okay, next year, 51 weeks from now, we're going to mail out a card to tell that kid happy birthday. Or, oh, they just had twin granddaughters. All right, let's go ahead and use Wonderbly to create custom, baby books with each of the baby's names and ship it to the client. Oftentimes we focus on acquiring new clients when really what we need to do is dig deeper with our existing clients, especially with financial services. Typically, you really want referrals more than you want to just find random people, because referrals are usually similar to your own client. So they're more likely to be your ideal client. They're already sold on your value because someone they trust has already talked about how you've helped them grow, how you've helped them prepare for retirement or help them grow their funds or weather all kinds of storms. And so digging deeper, social media allows us a window into what people care about. That is powerful. And very few businesses fully use that data in a useful way. Now, the big boys, they use that data to comb it and do all kinds of very strange things. I'll tell you that. But just from an individual mom and pop basis, just looking at that and seeing what people are up to, you can take your relationships to new heights. But again, we're using technology to find the information. We're using technology to send us reminders to contact people. We might even be using technology like Wonderbly, the one that does customized books, or using tools like send out cards to craft customized cards. We might be using technology even to get the message out. But as long as the message is about the other person and it's not an advertisement, it doesn't have our logo on it. I know it will stick. That's what grows relationships. That's what makes people more likely to give you referrals, because then when their friends come over and they see these beautiful baby books you sent, they're like, oh my gosh, where'd they come from? Oh, my financial advisor, Robert's amazing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, I need one. I was just thinking of getting one, or I'm not happy with the one I have.
I love it. You've got my gears turning, because I just think about, you mentioned systemizing this earlier, and some of that stuff sounds overwhelming until you said, make it somebody's job. You can get a virtual executive assistant very affordably, and they could do nothing but go and find that information, add the reminders to your CRM on an annual recurrence, and there you go. And now you're creating a much more enriched relationship application of how you can do this. Now, I know you specialize in social media. You just mentioned one way to use it. I think your point about focusing on existing relationships is very valid, but there are a lot of people in our audience who don't have enough existing relationships to live off. And they've got to go out and find new relationships. And maybe they don't even have enough people to provide them a steady stream of referrals. So if I'm starting at a level where I don't have that